All right, this one is about when messing with boys go wrong in the prison. This is about when messing with boys go wrong. All right, so sit back, pay attention, let's ride to the end, because this is a crazy ride right here. All right. All right, you know what it is. Unique Mecca Audio, man. I'm going to tell you this one right here, man. This one's is a pretty crazy story. All right? Now, we got these two dudes. One dude from North Carolina, and, he got all the money in North Carolina. He running the compound. He got the biggest store on the compound, I mean, he got everything. I'm talking about 20 of each item. There's no way to even stand up in his cell. All you could do is basically just lay down because, you know what I mean? There's commissary everywhere. And then there's this other dude that's from Baltimore that runs with the DC car, right? So now the two of them is sitting there and they get along real good. They playing tabletops together. They doing what they got to do. And, they call it chow. The two of them walking the chow together. They laughing, they talking. Because everybody always team up with somebody anyway. Like when they call chow, you be like, yo, you ready? And you got somebody watch your back. And, you both walk to the kitchen because you already know when you go to the kitchen, I told you before, if you got a Bethlehem on you or you do anything in the kitchen, you automatically getting transferred. So that's really like, a safe zone, in the prison, especially during lunchtime. So the two of them walk everywhere together and, they go to the yard together, they play basketball, they throw the football around, they just hanging out and everything is all good. And they always laughing, but they became the best of friends. But that was like a unlikely duel, Baltimore and North Carolina, because we in Lee County at the time. And North Carolina is right next to Lee County, Virginia. So they get the visits all the time and, so they get the packs, so they keep the weed on the compound, things like that. They don't really be into the H like that, but they definitely be into the, the weed, right? So whenever you want a weed, you'll go check a North Carolina dude. They sell you caps of weed and, they do what they got to do. And my man, he'll send the weed to different people on the street. If they family members bring it in, when they bring it in, the weed come in and everything good and everybody smoking. So this man had all the pull in the world, when they come to the prison and, eating, surviving. So they bringing all kinds of steaks and all this stuff back for the kitchen from, North Carolina, but we in their backyard is what we call it in the prison. So we in their backyard, that's how they got things on lock. So him and the little Baltimore dude was always just hanging out. They played chess together. That's when Flavor Flav just came out with the Flavor of Love and, on VH1. So everybody used to crowd around the TV to watch it, to look at all the pretty girls that was applying to be with Flavor. And everybody said, oh, man, look what the world done turned to. Got this dude out here. Look at this dude. And he's sitting here with, all these pretty girls. And the girls going up there talking about how much they love him. And we looking at Flavor. We looking at them. And we like, it don't match up. But then again, it's all for the bag. And I think... I Love New York was her name. She won. She a little aggressive chick, was fighting everybody. And if I'm not mistaken, y'all correct me in the comments, how you rat bastard flip-flop wearing in public trolls do. I think Hoops was on there. Hoops the one that wound up getting with Shaq later on. But, that was our regular little routine. And every night, like 6:30 after chow, the police print up what they call a call-out. On the call out, they got everything on it as far as, whatever every inmate got to, wherever any inmate have to report the next day. So if you got a medical appointment, a dental appointment, library appointment, chapel appointment, whatever appointment, it shows up on there for the whole institution with your name and number, your living location and what time you got to be where. Now, I'm a ride, I'm a ride. Because this one's about, Baltimore and North Carolina, but I'm taking a little somewhere else like that. So now, if somebody got a beef with somebody, all they got to do is look on the call out in the morning and wait till they see the person that they beefing with, name and number, and where they got to be. And 9 times out of 10, where they going, a lot of people don't carry their Bethlehem, you know what I mean? But most of us men know that you got to carry it everywhere, sometimes even in the kitchen, and sometimes you feel the vibe not to take it. So, dudes see that somebody got a call out in the chaplain, so dude will be waiting for him down the chaplain. When he come down the hallway, gang, 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 they wet him up, you know what I mean? So that's why it's, bad to, but it's like social media saying where you're going to be at, and then somebody there waiting to do something to you. So that's how that worked. So then now, these dudes is there, and they give these call-outs, and the North Carolina dudes, job was to hand out, the call-outs. You see what I'm saying? But he got to take one to every unit. It was 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? It was three buildings and 4, units in a square of the building. So 3 times 4, that's 12. That's 12 units. So he got to take one. He got to take 2 of those call outs to every unit so that all the inmates know where they at, because they put everybody call out on one. They could have protected and saved a lot of violence and problems if they would have just, only put the call outs for who goes on the call out in each individual unit. But instead, they put the whole prison on one big ass call out. So you just flip through it until you see your man you're trying to get named. And when you see his name, you move on him. So picture that, youngins. That's how you want to live. Have somebody stalking you from a call out, from a list of, where you got to go to the medical, when you got to go to medical. But anyway, so dude is taking, the slips to all the different units. And this is what he do every day. So when he come back, when he get to our unit, his little man, his little homie from Baltimore will be waiting on him, and, he'll hand him the list, for that unit. He take it upstairs so he don't have to walk upstairs, and he can get back to the unit faster because we all lived in the same unit. Then he go to the next unit and he say, yo, who upstairs in H2, who upstairs in E1, who upstairs in, B1, when he's standing in front of the units when they call the move, and he'll give him 2 call outs and say, put this on the desk. And that speeds up his process for him to get it done and get back, right? So now he sat there and he came up, and his little homie came to meet him downstairs. And when he came to meet him, he gave him the 2 call outs like he normally do, and he brings him upstairs. But at this time, he had a little piece of paper in it that he wrote him a note, because they used to always send each other notes, so we figured they were talking crazy to each other. So they used to send each other little notes and stuff like that, right? So he takes it upstairs, the call out, and it's, 2 call outs, but the dude had a little piece of paper in it, and he brings it upstairs and he puts the call out on top of the desk because he didn't know that the paper was in between the call outs. So he puts it down, he go back to doing what he doing, and when he go back to doing what he doing, the homies go up there to go look at the call out, and somebody seen it, and they knew who dude was and that he ran with the DC car. So they took the note that dude wrote and gave it to a couple of the dudes in the unit that was from DC and said, yo, look at this. We found this up there on the counter, They're like, on the counter. So he read it, and it's a love letter. It's a love letter to their little homie, And they like, nah, So now they like pissed off, but they like, nah, we're going to take care of this. So what they do is, dude go, he do what he got to do. He brings the thing back, right? He hands out all the call outs to the unit. He comes back to the unit. When he comes back to the unit, soon as he come to the unit, the DC dudes, they push up on him. First, let me slow it down. First, they call dude in the cell, they homie in the cell, and they ask they homie, the little kid from Baltimore, yo, what's up? What I mean? Speak on this, It's called a meeting, like bringing it to the round table. So they give him the note and tell him to speak on it and explain what this is about. Why is this love letter got your name in it, And he's like, man, I don't know. I said, yo, well, we found it on the counter, So he's trying to, deny it, but everybody's clearly reading the love letter, and they always hanging out together, but they never put it together that they was doing anything together. So it comes out what's going on. So once it comes out what's going on, the DC dudes are straight gangsters. So check how they do it. They push up on the dude, and he said, okay, well, what is he giving you? You know what I mean? He said, because you're violating anyway, but what is he giving you? So he's like, nah, but the dude owns a big store. So he said, nah. You know what I mean? Because I ain't giving me nothing. He's just my friend. We ain't doing nothing. We just be joking like that. Like, yo, you don't joke writing no love letters. He's like, nah, I'm telling you, da-da-da. I'm like, nah. So now when dude comes in, the DC dudes, they roll up on him, and they tell him straight up, yo, you're dealing with our boy, you know, so therefore, you know, you got to pay us, you know. So this is a form of like, now, you know, we going to be his pimp, you know. So they tell him straight up, yo, you got to pay us. You understand? So they roll up on him, and they go in the cell, and he had a big store. So they go in there, and dude is like, nah, it wasn't nothing, because dude's already told, you know, the North Carolina dude when he was on the compound, there's something going on in your unit, da-da-da-da. You know, be careful when you go in the unit, because your name into something. So when he go in there and he hears that, he's kind of prepared. So they go in there, and while they're talking to him, they're letting him know, the DC dude's letting him know, yo, you got to pay up, man. We're not going to be doing this and having you doing that. You know what I mean? One of our people, you ain't breaking us off. You know what I mean? Bottom line, you're going to give us some of that, you know, some of the goodies you got in here. You know, a matter of fact, give us 20 books. So dude screwed up, and he gave him the 20 books. You know what I mean? So now they leave, and that night after they leave, the DC dudes, they go hold back up in the cell, and they say, oh, man, we got to be able to get this dude. You know what I mean? Do you see how every situation turns into an opportunity towards getting the bag? So from them finding out that dude was sitting there, you know, doing things he wasn't supposed to be doing with the North Carolina dude, now they figure out how to get money. The Baltimore dude, he didn't really have nobody on the outside send him nothing, and he was just like a regular kid from Baltimore. I think he got caught up because he was stealing cars or something, and, you know, when he stole the car, he drove it from Baltimore to like Virginia, and they got him for taking the cross state line, and that's how he got locked up, you know. And, you know, taking the car to D.C., got locked up in D.C. with it, so that's how he got locked up in D.C., and all the D.C.'s inmates is in the federal system, so that being that he got caught up in the D.C. state system, they sent him right to the federal system, because that's where they send everybody, you know, that catch their case in D.C. So now that's how he winds up there for a little car stealing. But, you know, so he's not really about nothing, but I guess maybe he was curious with his, you know, his S or whatever. So now, you know, the DC dudes go back and they say, yo, that nigga got about 500 bucks in that cell, man. He getting all the money with the store. He got a ticket. Da-da-da. He got all the weed. Yo, he got to break us off, man, yo. So now they done went, and in the morning, they call breakfast so everybody goes to chow, because this happened at night. Like I said, they bring the call-outs at the end of the evening when everything closed down. So they roll over, you know, to breakfast, and they telling the other homies on the compound what happened, and, you know, they smelling blood right now. All they seeing is, you know, bloody stamps. You know, like, oh, no, this dude got about 500 books, you know, 2,000 books. We gonna catch this dude, and he messing, you know, one of the homies, da-da-da, and, you know, and the homie ain't smart enough to get no money out of him, and, you know, all kinds of talk is going on. You know how the penitentiary go. So now, while they there, you know, they put it together, and, like, maybe five of the, you know, DC brothers, they get together in the morning, and they already made their plan that they're going to move on them. Now, the North Carolina dude is in front of the unit. He's telling his homies what happened yesterday, that he got beef with the North Carolina dudes because they take it out of proportion for a note, you know, that he wrote, playing a game with the dude, and the thing was playing with him like, you know, he cipher, monkey cipher, and you know what I mean? And they trying to make it like if they really doing something when they wasn't doing nothing. This is what he's telling his homies to rile them up with him, to not let them know that he's in violation for even mess with this boy, because the feds, they don't do that. That's a violation. Real men don't do that. People mind their business, stay out the way, and that's that. But bottom line is, now when you talk about one car to another car doing something like that, that's, you know, like definitely not permissible. Because you even got dudes that'll tell a dude, yo, I don't care if you on some he cipher, monkey cipher time, but keep it in the car, because if you go deal with somebody outside the car, it's going to make us look soft. You know what I mean? Like if we got one of our homies in here on their knees and we don't get down like that. You know what I mean? So they're telling that. So if you go talk to somebody outside that car, you know, now it's a problem. So, that was the issue. So the next morning, about 5 of the third little DC dudes, they tell all their homies that they coming up in the unit when they call work call. When they call work call, that's when the whole jail come out for the first move at 7:30, and everybody's going to their different call outs. So imagine 1,000 people moving, and you got maybe 300 of them going to certain places in the building, and you got 300 going to the Unicor. That's 600 people moving around at that time, and then some people's going to rec, another 100 going to rec. So that's 700 people right there out of like 1,500 people. So it's a lot of movement going on. So when they call work call, they rolled up there and they ran up in the North Carolina. Dude said with the laundry bags. You got these big laundry bags. They rolled up in there with the laundry bag and they tell them straight up, you know what I mean? You're playing with our boy, you know what I mean? You're going to pay this what it is. And each one of them gave him a commissary bag, held it out and said, man, fill that up. I told you, this cell was filled with commissary, zoom, 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 wham, wham. So he said, man, fill it up, So when he said fill it up, he filled up one of the bags because he's nervous, and then his homies walked by because they seen all the DC dudes come walk up in the unit, so they come by his cell. So now when he see his homies, he like, man, get up out of here, I ain't giving y'all nothing. Now he got the strength. Before he was quiet at church, man, get up out of here, I ain't giving you nothing. You know what I mean? Man, y'all dead, boom, read about my cell. So when he did that, the DC dudes, they don't play no game. They just say, all right, well, forget the commissary. They already got one bag. They say, man, forget that. So dude took the one bag. You understand what I'm saying? And left with it. He said, yo, take the bag. So dude took the bag with the first, set of goods in it, and he take it downstairs and he give it to somebody else from DC that was down there and told him go put that in the unit. He run back upstairs, and by the time he run back upstairs, his homies done popped off. So, DC and North Carolina's up there pushing knives. They going at it, boom, 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 boom. So while they going at it, they fighting, and then while this is happening now, dude runs out the unit, he go downstairs. Why he go downstairs? So he go downstairs, and now you got all the DC dudes lined up because they already had it where, these 5 is going to go handle it, like a mission. We don't need the whole car running up there because they looking at it like we can handle it with that by the amount of dudes that's in the unit from North Carolina. Plus they got work calls, so most of them probably left to go on a call out or go to Unicor or wherever they going in the morning. So, they run downstairs. Dude tried to run downstairs. When he run downstairs, all the DC and that's where all the North Carolina dudes is at now because he made his way to get to where his people is at. So he running down the stairs because the building's on the second floor. So he running, he get downstairs to the first floor, and when he get down there in the front, dudes is chasing him with the knife. The joint is going off, and then there's 2 DC dudes that's in there that got the 5 net bags, and they loading up the net bags. That was their job to load up the net bags. So they loading it up with about $1,000 worth of food, and they got these big net bags and deuces going off, police running everywhere, and here come the DC dude with these bags over their shoulder looking like Santa Claus, and they making it to where they got to go stash the bag. So they run upstairs in the unit, and they put in some other DC dudes, tell them to hold it, because they already know something going to hold, but bottom line, it's a come up for whoever's out there. When dudes come out to hold, they put the work in, dude gonna give them whatever out of that they made out of that, because now they got enough to start their own store and do what they got to do. So now they down there, they fighting, so the police got all them laid up on the ground, so they all laid up on the ground, and then they take them and they lock them up in the shoe. So now when they lock them up in the shoe, they write the separatists. So they put it down who was who. So all they had on the separatists was the 5 dudes that ran in there that they saw with the camera. The other dude that was fighting, they figured just holding down their homies, so they didn't put them on nothing. So that wasn't about nothing. So dudes go back, to the compound. So they transform, Now I winds up, going to another joint, then another joint, and I wind up out west in Atwater. When I get out west in Atwater, North Carolina cars out there, and, they doing their thing, and then here dude comes on the compound, So when dude come on the compound, one of the DC dudes that was there said, yo, that's dude that was over there that, was fighting with us in North Carolina. And that's a big violation because DC don't forget nothing. If you put your hands on somebody from DC, they don't care where they catch you. They catch you, it's a wrap. So now, dude that done got into it with the third 5 homies over there and got them all transferred and got separatists, their homies can't get with him. So now it's the other homies to get to him now that they send him there, so he became food. You know what I mean? So when he come there, everybody whisper and ask, yo, what's up? Ooh, ain't that the dude from blah, 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 blah? And dude's like, yeah, yo, but the dude's name was such and such. But we all the way out west, so it's not a lot of people there, you know what I mean, that was in Lee County at the time, but everybody heard the stories, heard the name, and then when they got to other places, you know, they saw pictures of who he was or might have been with him somewhere else and da-da-da-da. So they found out that this was the dude. So now when they found out this was the dude, they roll up on him. You know, they get their little Bethel hands together, and now they got to punish him because he don't put his hands on the 5 thorough homies instead of just, you know, paying the booty ransom. You know what I mean? So they roll up on him and they tell him, yo, you know, you such and such, you know? And he said, nah, I'm not that person. And he said, nah, ain't your name da-da-da-da? And he said, nah, and he gave him his government name, right? So somebody else was sitting there, so they walk away, leave it alone, because they don't want to just jump on anybody from North Carolina recklessly. So he's denying it. So they go back and they trying to get somebody that know him, you know, to find out what time it is, right? So now, being that he was on boys, there was a couple of dudes from North Carolina wasn't feeling that, and they not going to go to war with him over him dealing with a boy when they don't deal with boys. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, they go, you know, the DC dudes go ask those North Carolina dudes that's official, that's not with the bull crap, that's not going to go to war over no, you know, garbage like that. So they tell them straight up, they said, yeah, that's boo-boo, that's such and such. You understand what I'm saying? Because right now they throwing him to the wolves because, you know what I mean, he putting everybody in danger, you know? So put in the comment, you think they should have did that, you know what I mean? And mind you, should they have went to war because he was messing with a boy in another jail, or should they have just, you know what I mean, dealt with it, you know? So bottom line is, you know, dude lying, so when they confronted him about it, you know what I mean? Dude was saying it wasn't him. You know, when North Carolina confronted him about it, he was saying that, nah, that wasn't me. I don't know what they talking about, this and that. You know what I mean? But the dude from North Carolina that already heard the story knew it was him. You understand? So they tell him straight up, you know, yo, this is what it is. Either you go up top or we going to run you up top. You know what I mean? But we ain't going to let the DC dudes put their hands on you. You know what I mean? But if you choose to stay out here, then you on your own, because we're not going to go to war with anybody over you playing with no boy in the joint, you know? So dude turns around, he said, yeah, all right. And he turns around and he walks right to the lieutenant office and check in, and I never seen this clown again. But that's the way that one played out. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, and share the video. This is what it is. Just wanted to give you something for the day. That's how that played out. All right, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, yeah. He back on the strip, getting back in the mix. Yeah. What he mentions a gift. Rush. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Yeah. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Real. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, make an audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spin a couple bands on the dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be whoring uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend a ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community yard, so we can give back to the youth them. Cause they the truth them, and bless up to all the root men.